It's obvious that you listen to this show to hear about and support other people's dreams. But what about yours? What is your dream project? I'm here to help you break through whatever is in the way of your dreams and get you to the finish line. Go to dreamingbigcoaching.com today and take the first step. Literally, it's a button you can click to sign up for a free consultation with me. Let's find out if I can help you reach your goal. Click on Take the First Step. It's that simple to start the rest of your life. Get coached by Rob Southgate at dreamingbigcoaching.com. Welcome back again to Alley Chats. I'm your host, Rob Southgate, and today we're doing something a little different. I have another podcast called Go Fund This, where I interview people about their crowdfunding campaigns. I feature a lot of amazing projects about comics, TTRPGs, indie films, and really just anything creative, and so much more. You should totally check it out. I decided to share my latest episode about the documentary for Ghostlord and the Quest for Dark Presence on this show, Alley Chats, as well. It's a movie about an independent video game that's been in development for 30 years. The interview was with director Craig Bass and producer Michelle Maslanka to talk about the Kickstarter for this indie film. Here's a description of the documentary. Owner of the largest arcade in the world, Doc Mack, aka Ghostlord, has spent nearly 3 decades working on a video game that he believes has the potential to supercharge a struggling industry. Ghostlord and the Quest for Dark Presence follows Doc's journey to create a live-action digitized fighting game from the first hint of the game's idea through the crooked investors, a mysterious illness, surprise iguanas, a nearly assassinated landlord, and multiple reshoots. But the real question is, will it ever get finished? Let's get to it. Here are Craig and Michelle. Michelle, Craig, thank you so much for coming on Go Fund This. Okay, every show, you guys don't know this, but every show I say, I'm so excited to talk to you. I am. I always want to talk about movies. You guys have a documentary that you are kickstarting, and I'm going to set this up right here so you guys feel comfortable knowing all the links are going to be in the show notes. Cool. So we don't have to spend a million times going through Ghostlord and the Quest for Dark Presence, even though you do want to say that a million times. They'll be able to click on it, find it, you're good to go. So, Craig, Michelle, welcome. Why don't you introduce yourselves? Let's let Michelle go first. She was on before you, Craig.
Sure. And thanks for having us. This is really exciting for us. And for me, I just came off of a weekend at C2E2 talking about the project. So this feels very fitting. I'm one of our producers and first AD on Ghostlord and the Quest for Dark Presence. And it's a feature-length documentary on an arcade game that's nearly 30 years in the making. And the creator, who's basically become a gaming legend in the process. And that guy's name is Doc Mack. And he is the owner of Galloping Ghost Arcade in Brookfield, Illinois. And it is the largest arcade in the world, which is great for us because that's right in our backyard. We're very excited that it's a local story, kind of a hometown hero story. We're excited about the Kickstarter and the project.
Awesome. And Craig, how about you?
What she said. No. Michelle's absolutely right. She's sort of painted the picture of the project, but in terms of us, I'm a self-taught filmmaker. So truth be told, I dropped out of high school, and which isn't a good message for the kids necessarily.
Hey, kids, don't do it.
Well, I try to actually encourage them to do the same and just follow their dreams. But, I keep getting chastised every time I put that out there. No, but seriously, it would have been lovely to go to film school, but I didn't have the means to do so. So I kind of had to find my way in through the back door. Part of that was to try and use my burgeoning skill set to make money. So I didn't have to be a server anymore and wait tables at night. And I was blessed to meet a man who already had a small marketing company, and we partnered up eventually and started Motion Source, which is a corporate and commercial video production company. Motion Source has now been around, we don't really know, somewhere like 13 to 15 years doing this sort of work. My old business partner has since moved on to other ventures, but is one of my dearest friends and actually one of the biggest supporters of our Kickstarter. And, that's sort of been the day job. Michelle's been with me for 9 years, hired her while she was still in school.
You didn't make her drop out, did you?
Actually, I was very frustrated that she had 2 weeks left. I really just wanted to get her into the mix, but no, I let her graduate. No, that was a stipulation, of course, with her. So she graduated. She's been here for about 9 years, really completely evolved the company in so many ways. And to this day really is, truthfully, the glue that holds everything together, especially as we talk about now getting more into this sort of cinematic work, which is what I started. That was the dream always and is still the dream. As we start to move into that, she's sort of the rock. She keeps everything together still, and in orbit. So that's sort of, I don't know if I did a great job of articulating it, but that's our history in a little box.
You know what? It was beautiful.
Thank you, sir.
I got it. I'm sure the listeners got it. I want to talk about the Kickstarter. It is for a documentary called Ghostlord and the Quest for Dark Presence. As you said, it's been 30 years in the making on this video game. I'm going to encourage everybody to go to the Kickstarter and pledge. And not just pledge, but watch the video, because I watched this video and absolutely fell in love. And in fact, one thing I'm going to suggest doing is share this with your friends, because you don't know who out there is going to go, oh my God. Like, as we were talking earlier, I thought of somebody that I know up in Michigan who is going to go crazy for this. And I went, oh my God. And they're networked with all these video game heads. They're going to go nuts for this. So share it far and wide. We want to help them hit their goals. As of this recording right now, we have 24 days left. We're at 21,172, and it is a $60,000 goal. You are in great shape to hit it, and we want to get you there as fast as we can. So, listeners, you can help. And this is near and dear to me. We've talked about a few films in the past, a documentary film, especially about an arcade and about a video game. It doesn't get any sweeter than this. So, Michelle, you gave a little bit of a description of it. You talked about Doc a little bit. Can you give us a little more of the story of this?
Yeah, so Doc actually started out as a game developer. Right now, he's kind of known as the arcade guy, just because he has such a face and presence with Galloping Ghost Arcade. But back in 1994, he started Galloping Ghost Productions, and that was his production company to put out his own video games. So talk about chasing your childhood dreams. He set out to make games, and he was going to do it. So he started making this game, Dark Presence, back in 1994. So it's, we're 28 years or so. But that was his dream. He did everything he could. He didn't have the tools. He didn't have the skill set. He found friends, family, anything he can do. So I think there's also that kind of scrappy nature that attracted us to the story too. As independent filmmakers, we know what that's like. We know what it's like to put in your time and energy, and just really do whatever you can to make something happen. So kind of the origins of the story was this game Dark Presence back in 94. But then with twists and turns and all the things that life throws at you, he ended up opening the arcade. And I think it was in 2010, because I think we're going on to 13 years with the arcade, which is now blossomed into the largest arcade in the world. And again, I think that's probably what he's most known for. But the idea with this story is to really pull back from that and show who Doc is behind the scenes. And again, that's a game developer. That's really a kid who wants to put out his own video game and never gave up on that dream. So that's kind of the long and short of it. And Doc Mack is a great guy, and he's been a great supporter of this project. And I think he's just got a really interesting and inspiring story to tell.
It's funny. I live in the Chicagoland area too. And in our podcast network, we've had video game podcasts, and these guys have come into town, and they all go to Underground Retrocade, which is not far from me, and they all go out to Galloping Ghost, and they all rave about both of them, but they're like, Galloping Ghost is huge. I have yet to go, because the one I go to is right here.
Shame on you.
I know, but you know what? It's my stack of shame. And I always am like, should we go? Do we have time? But we're so busy. And it's funny, this summer we were talking about, or leading into summer, like, what are some things? What are some goals And one of the goals is to get out to Galloping Ghost. So now it's kismet. You guys are on here. I'm going to have to go. I'm going to have to share all my doings. I love to take pictures of the cabinets and of the pinball, because I know he's got pinball out there. Oh yeah. So this is great. Sounds one. I mean, you could do a documentary about Galloping Ghost and I'd be happy. But this video of this game looks nuts.
Well, and I will say, come out this weekend then, Rob, because I'm going to be there promoting the film, I think, this weekend. But no,
I'll see if I can. Seriously, that would be awesome.
But we actually, so Underground Retrocade, Scott Lambert, who owns Underground Retrocade, is a phenomenal fella. And we've interviewed him for this film because Doc
great. Scott's a friend of mine.
Oh, awesome. So, Doc was, I think, pretty instrumental in the inspiring Scott. And then in some ways, I think, shepherding him in his quest to open the arcade. And then straight up, Scott might have been the very first person to donate to our campaign. So
really,
awesome, dude. Yeah, very supportive, very cool guy. Great time shooting over there with him. And that was so just wanted to give a shout out to Scott, because you had mentioned the Underground Retrocade, and I strongly encourage everybody to support him as well.
The last time we were there, I was there with some friends. We call them adult play dates, where we're all parents. We got kids, teenagers. We take the teenagers, all of us go and do something that our 13-year-old self would go crazy for. Of course, we ended up at Underground Retrocade. And Scott actually told me, he said, "You still haven't been out to Galloping Ghost?" I'm like, "No, not yet. I'll get out there." So he's out there promoting too, which is awesome. Although he didn't tell me about this movie, so I'm going to have some words.
Shame on him. Scott. Yeah, I take everything nice that I said back now.
So this game, and we're going to get into the Kickstarter itself, but this game looks like he was inspired, obviously, by games like Mortal Kombat. And there was another game that was a fighting game that looked so much like this with the live action. I've never been a huge fighting game guy, but those games I played the hell out of. So watching this video, it attracted me so much. He's got a lot of footage, right?
There's a ton of footage. And I don't think this would be nearly as interesting of a story. And so this is something definitely to differentiate it from other arcade games. It's not animated sprites. It is live action. So it's people filmed on a green screen. And having originated in a time when there was no internet, really, and there wasn't a lot of information about technology and in filmic technologies out there, it was still the province of sort of, a special few. Figuring out how to shoot a game on green screen, key that, get it into a computer, build an engine for it it's like an insurmountable task. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing what they accomplished. But in the difficulty of the task, this game was reshot 3 times. So what you see in the trailer is footage from the first 2 filmings as well as the third. The third time that he shot it, he was like, well, we almost finished it once. Might as well shoot the sequel while we're back in the studio. He wrote a sequel. He shot a sequel with like 15 new characters, and they spent 4 years in a converted warehouse studio making this game happen. And you're like, well, how did he live? Right? Like, how was he paying bills? Well, Doc had like an eBay empire. He was selling bootlegs of Godzilla box sets and Led Zeppelin.
Awesome.
He has the distinction of having received cease and desist letters both from Toho and Led Zeppelin. But he was running an eBay empire, making sometimes $1,000 a day, and that was supporting his ability to make a game. It's a wild story. It's not like, if it was just your standard, even underdog story of we've been chipping away in the basement forever, programming and trying to get this done, it wouldn't have drawn me in. A big part of it was just like how colorful it is and how many, there's so many things. He ended up with 13 iguanas. He contracted a mysterious illness that lasted forever where he's throwing up 20 times a day. He had a landlord that became a second father that was nearly assassinated by 2 corrupt cops that were going to dismember him. There's like,
this is all in the movie, right?
Yeah, well, it will be, yeah. And so insanity abounds. And when I, the first time Doc and I met, we spent like 4 hours talking. He, it was just learning about him being 19 years old, wealthy Texans flying into Chicago, going into his bedroom at his parents' house, and him pitching them. Well, Mortal Kombat did these numbers. If we can do these numbers at this percentage, you'll make this amount of money. And people are giving him tens of thousands of dollars in investment.
Wow.
It's like, there's no better underdog, like follow your dream. He has completely changed my life. I've always been a filmmaker. I have footage from 7 years old with a home video camera, putting my cats on the player piano. Oh, it's the amazing piano playing cat, and then 10 years old making kung fu movies with my best friends. I got drawn into video production because that's how I could use my skills to make money. But, continuously, I mean, ask Michelle, we've done like 40 music videos, a bunch of short films, always dabbling in the creativity, but never taking that huge bite, the feature.
Yeah.
And kind of fell into this and then was super inspired by it to say, this isn't it. Like, this is what we're going to do. Certainly we're not going to close down Motion Source. We have clients we love and there's work that we value, but we're going to take this new unit, Year of the Phoenix, which is the film production side, and we're going to make films full time. This is what we're going to do. And a lot of that was inspired by Doc's story, my time with him. I mean, we've spent a ton of time together, and it's sort of like the willingness to say, F it. Oh, excuse me. Don't know the rating on here, but I'm going to grab life by the horns or whatever and ride into the sunset or whatever. Like, I'm going to take this where I want it to go. It's completely changed me. And I think that that's sort of the power of this story, the inspirational nature of this story. I think it can change other people as well, seeing how this played out. And most people just think, oh, it's the guy with the largest arcade in the world. So, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about how the arcade started, which was really a spin-off of the game. But the arcade's just a piece of a much larger story. And that's the story of Dark Presence.
Man, you're saying everything that I love.
You're
and
good.
People that know me, because I've got, my own followers and that, know that one of the things I do is I coach about achieving your dreams. And I did it 10 years ago. I walked off a cliff.
That was your dream, to walk off a cliff?
We did it. We walked off a cliff and started a podcast network at a time that there weren't that many out there.
Metaphorical cliff.
And,
okay.
Yeah, well, then actual one. You haven't seen me stand up. I have no legs at this point. No, I'm kidding. No, we actually we walked off a cliff. My wife and I said, that's it. We had a little girl. We're like, we're going to do this. And we didn't make money for a long time, but boy, we created a lot of incredible magic, and we still talk about it. I wouldn't give up any of that time for what we have now, even though it sure would have been nice to have a little extra cash. So let's talk about cash. Let's talk about the tiers here. Highlight a couple of tiers that you think people are going to be most excited about.
Michelle, you want to tackle that one, or you want me to tackle that one?
I'm interested to hear what you think.
Okay, let me look at the Kickstarter. I wasn't prepared. One thing, I don't know if this is exciting, but we have a ton of passes to the arcade. So if you're local or you're willing to come in, it kind of reduces the amount of certain perks. The $50, you get a day pass to the arcade, a digital download of the film, the soundtrack, and a website. Thank you. But like,
I tell you what, that was the first one I saw. I'm like, okay, there's my entry point, $50 right there.
Well, you'd pay $50 or you'd pay $25 to get into the arcade anyway. So if you're going to go this year anyway, that becomes a $25 tier. So
yeah,
there's that. I think for me, it's maybe stupid as it sounds, like the Blu-ray is huge. I'm a huge collector. I'm a cinephile. I'm a huge collector of boutique Blu-rays, limited Blu-rays, and really want to make a disc that people can proudly, put on their shelf display that has valuable content beyond the film on it, with commentaries and whatever else we come up with. So for me, just designing, alternate slip cover Blu-ray limited edition is like getting into my own little obsession. So I think just the core film itself is an exciting reward to me. And then I think, like, if you're willing to drop a decent amount of cash, Dark Presence it's still being worked on. And when it will be done, I cannot say, but it is playable. And it is actually a very fun game. If you came out to C2E2, you would have gotten the chance to play it, but they only take it out once in a while to test it. But for a certain amount of money, you can get, and I think it's $3,000 to be completely honest, you can get a private play session. So you get a co-producer credit, which is pretty cool. If you want to be in the movies, you get all the other rewards, a week pass, signed poster, t-shirt, limited edition, Blu-ray, all that kind of stuff. But You will also get a private play session with the development team. So that means Doc, that means these are the dudes, some of which have been there since they filmed it. We'll sit with you, play the game with you, explain the game, talk through character. I mean, whatever you want to do at Galloping Ghost headquarters, Galloping Ghost Productions, which is an experience in and of itself going in there. It's a private play session for that game. And then I think, Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, but you probably get a lot of stuff, because then also another one I was going to point out for $500 is the test screening. And we say test screening because what we want is an opportunity for people that are really interested to come in and see an earlier cut of the film, that they can then weigh in on and say, here's what I liked, here's what I didn't like, here's what I changed, what if you did this? So we wanted the audience to have an opportunity to, in some sense, shape the film's final destiny as well. So there is that tier for a test screening, which is both, there's a physical one where we'll go to a theater together and have a lot of fun, watch the movie and talk. There's a digital one so that anyone who wants to get involved that's not local still has the opportunity to be a part of that. So that's at $500. Of course, at the $3,000, you get that as well as a bunch of other stuff. I would say our Kickstarter is very experiential. We're trying to give people, come on set, be behind the camera, come on set, be in the film, come to the test screening, be part of the group that helps decide the final fate of this thing, come play the game in a private session where no one else is around but you and the guys designing it, and if you want me to come, I'll come over too, and I'd have a blast. So I think it's very experience heavy, because I think there's more of a value to that than if we give you enamel pins and
right,
and keychains and a bunch of stuff that isn't going to have, I think, the sort of long-term value of these experiences.
I'm with you. I love these tiers. I've been looking through, and so the $5,000 one is a little cost prohibitive for me. But looking at it, I'm like, oh, this makes perfect sense. You're going to be an executive producer. These perks are great. Like, there's nothing here that seems out of line. You're making a film, and you've got quite a film according to what I'm watching here and what I'm hearing about it. So I'm encouraging people, once again, go to the Kickstarter, look at the tiers, jump in on this. And that $3,000 one, I'm telling you, that experience is worth 10 times that. Playing the game with the team, being at the Galloping Ghost. I mean, the whole thing, I'm looking at that going, now that's the one. That's the one right there. Now, I don't see on here any stretch goals. Do you have any stretch goals?
Michelle, you can tackle that one.
We're in talks. I can't say too much on that quite yet, but if and when that time comes, we can discuss. Awesome.
That happens a lot. It leaves us, you're chumming the water. It leaves us wanting more. I'd love to see, number one, you hit this amount, but I'd love to see what could that possibly be. I have a feeling it's Craig comes over with popcorn and watches it with you. But Craig, that's going to be tough, because if you've got that many people, you're going to be busy. There's your new full-time job.
One of the co-producers that suggested, like, what about a date with the director? And I was like, you're absolutely insane. Come on. If you want to go on a date with me, just call me and we'll work something out.
There you go. You heard it here first, folks. So once again, the links are in the show notes. You'll be able to help this film out. I highly encourage you to do it. I am in love with this project, and I want you to share it with people. Anybody listening, where can people find you? And once again, those links will be in the show notes too, so you don't have to give 8,000. But where's a place where they can interact with you, maybe ask questions or see what you're up to?
Sure. So our website's yearthephoenixproductions.com. You can reach us there. We're also on all the socials, and that's through our Year of the Phoenix Productions, but also Ghostlord's Quest. That's our Facebook and our Twitter and our Instagram. Again, we'll have all the links for you, but Ghostlord's Request is our social handle for the film itself. So you'll see all of the updates there. We're updating every day, multiple times a day. We got behind the scenes footage. We've got a lot of cool stuff to still share with you all on social.
Very exciting. All right, guys, thank you so much for being on. I am all behind this. We can hit this goal. So good luck. And everybody, go click those links and start supporting right now.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
I am completely in love with this project. I love indie films, video games, and real-life stories about chasing dreams. This has everything. The Kickstarter for Ghostlord and the Quest for Dark Presence ends on April 28th at 11:59 p.m. Follow the link in the show notes so you can support this Kickstarter. And act quickly. Time is running out. I definitely am. Thanks again to Craig and Michelle for coming on the show and sharing this incredible project with us. If you know somebody that would make a great guest on Alley Chats or has a cool crowdfunding effort about to launch or currently going, send them my way. I love to interview creative people. I love to share cool projects, and I love helping people reach their goals. You can connect with me through the Alley Chats podcast Facebook page or the Go Fund This podcast Facebook page, or email me directly at rob@smgpods.com. Alley Chats is a production of Southgate Media Group, hosted, edited, and produced by me, Rob Southgate. Thanks for listening to Alley Chats, and we'll see you at the cons.